Greetings all, this is Dickie Adams with PocketNow.com, and today we're going to do a comparison video between the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7 from Verizon and a couple of other devices that are on the market today. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show. So we have here the side-by-side text comparison between the Kindle Fire over here and the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7 over here. And as you can see, well, it's a little difficult here, but from my view, the brightness in the background here on the Kindle Fire, this area here that you would expect to be black is actually kind of a dark gray because of the side lighting, whereas with the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7, the space right above the text here is just a really deep, rich black. The text color here, the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7 from Verizon, the text is noticeably more blue, a little bit brighter. Whereas with the Kindle Fire, the text is kind of a yellowish pink tint, and these are both at full brightness between them. Really, as far as the readability between them, I have to say both are very good, although the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7 does have that dark black background, looks so much better. I'm going to go ahead and here to the settings, and I'm going to turn the brightness down to the lowest levels. And as you can see here, although again with the camera it's a little difficult to tell, the brightness on the Kindle Fire actually goes to a lower brightness setting than the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7 does, which is nice when you're reading in bed. The brightness, I found that the brightness on the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7 is really a lot brighter, a little harsher on the eyes. It doesn't seem to go down as far in the brightness levels versus the Kindle Fire. We still have the deep rich blacks over here, and we still have kind of a dark gray that's over here, and you can see it better in this lighting here. This kind of grayish background versus the black. Readability is still the same between them versus large fonts or small fonts. I kind of set them the same, but otherwise it's pretty good. As far as speed of changing pages, they both seem to be fairly quick. As you can see here. Obviously, we're not in complete sync with the pages because the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7 does have additional text down here at the bottom that we're not seeing on the Kindle Fire because of the differences in the screen size. Otherwise, both are very good for reading and seem to be very solid for the use of ebook reading in this case. Moving to the side-by-side comparison of the browsers, the Kindle Fire versus the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7, these are both at full brightness here. And as you can see in this particular view, the Kindle Fire is actually brighter and versus the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7. You can see here we've got the brightness all the way up. And here on the Kindle Fire, all the way up there as well. That said, the readability between the two devices, the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7 with the fully zoomed out versus fully zoomed out, the text is actually easier to read here. The text here, and while it's difficult to see in the view, the text here is a little pixelated and difficult to see. And on the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7, you can actually read the text if you've got good eyesight, but really the differences are very strong. Now, the Galaxy Tab is loading up all the flash by default, and the Kindle Fire is not by default. So I'm just going to zoom in here. Text versus text. And you can see a little better there the differences between the fonts. The Galaxy Tab's font seems to be a little more bold versus the Kindle Fire, which is a little more light as far as font goes. As far as screen size goes, you can see that the Galaxy Tab 7.7 is a little wider and a tad taller in screen dimensions than the Kindle Fire here. And then compared in thickness, obviously the Kindle Fire is going to be the loser in this, or the thicker of the two in this situation, although I don't know that I would call it necessarily the loser in the situation. I'll explain that in just a minute. Between the two devices, of course, we've got some noticeable advantages on the Galaxy Tab 7.7 side. Namely, it's got the LTE 3G capabilities. It's a little thinner and lighter than the Kindle Fire. It does have a front-facing and rear camera, although they're not very good. But the price difference is pretty noticeable as well, whereas you've got, for a couple $100 for the Kindle Fire, and then you're looking closer to $500 with a contract for the 7.7 tab here from Verizon. As far as in-hand feeling, I really still prefer this size form factor, the Kindle Fire, and the way that it's weighted and balanced, and it just sits in your hand very nicely. You barely have to rest your finger on it to keep it in one place, which I really, really like. Whereas with the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7, I feel like I have to kind of grip the device or it's going to fall out of my hands, and when it's out here and I'm reading from this angle, I'm feeling like I'd have to rest my thumb someplace to grab onto it, versus on the Kindle Fire, if I'm reading out from that far away, it still feels very balanced in my hand, and it rests nicely against the meat of my thumb pad here. It still sits very nicely in my hand in comparison. What about the differences in the processor, you say? Does the one faster than the other? Does the difference in the RAM really seem to matter? Personally, I think we're getting to the point with Android devices that the chips that are in it and the amount of RAM and the amount of processing power doesn't matter as much as the experience. And since the Kindle Fire was updated to its newest firmware release, it skips right along very quickly. The scrolling back and forth here is very fast, and if we go into the app drawer, it's very snappy. Now, it suffers like a lot of other Android devices insofar that if you get a bunch of apps loaded in the background, and I know that they say that you're not supposed to have to do this, but the reality is closing apps does make the Kindle Fire better. So if you find your Kindle Fire acting sluggish, just go in and kill the apps or reboot the device. Whereas with the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7, the experience is just not the same. There's these hiccups that happen. When you rotate the screen, it doesn't go as fast. And when you're scrolling through the apps, it seems to kind of pause and glitch along. And that could be due to Honeycomb again, or it could be to TouchWiz. But again, this is my point here, is that the experience makes the bigger difference. Even between, say, a iOS, the new iPad that just came out, and Android devices, really there's the same thing here. The interface on iOS is just small and lightweight. It doesn't have all the widgets or the capabilities that Android can have. It's probably, as far as processors goes, you can see the battery life is already dying on me too. As far as processors go, you really can't compare them because the experience on iOS is better than Android. And I actually had somebody ask me that today about Android, and they were comparing one Android device to iOS and saying that the Android device was better because of the processor, RAM, etc., etc. And again, it goes right back to experience. Is the experience better, or is it just is the processor really making much of a difference? And I think we're finding that the processor doesn't make much of a difference, especially when we're comparing, going back to the Kindle Fire and the Galaxy Tab 7.7. Let's look at one more device here. Compared to the Galaxy Tab 10.1 from Verizon and the Galaxy Tab 7.7, the size difference is just immense, and really you're talking about a much larger device here. It's really, as far as thickness goes, they're about the same, but really you're talking, this device didn't seem that large until it was up against this particular device as well. And then if we bring in the Samsung Epic Touch here for a third view, you can see the three of them together, the kind of family of devices. But even the Epic Touch here is noticeably different, pales in comparison here to the 10.1. As far as capabilities between these two devices, really, we're both at full brightness here, and the gray down here is not as rich and crisp as the gray down here on the Samsung 7.7. Really, it is just about, they're both running honeycomb here, and frankly, between the two of them, I don't find a whole lot of difference between, as you can see there, the rotation speeds are really suffer from the same issues, which makes me think maybe it's more of TouchWiz than, say, Honeycomb, but Honeycomb does have its own issues as well. Battery life between them, it's really about the same. I really haven't found that the devices are too terribly different. When you're comparing that to, say, a iOS device, the batteries still don't hold up nearly as well. I still really like this 7-inch form factor. I really like this in my hand, the 7.7-inch style. It makes it more like that paperback format, and I really do like that much better.